All right, everyone. We got my newfound friend, Jeff Meltzer, coming on from Meltzer Media, turnkey direct response marketer and running the marketing agency. And Jeff, you've been running this business, what I saw, 36 fucking years. Holy shit. That's older than
Capital
me.
F, by the way, capital F. Yes.
Capital F, right? So for everyone listening who's already awestruck, like who am I talking to? Who are they listening to? And how the fuck have you been in business for 36 years? Because most 99% of businesses are out of business in 10. You went 36. So
In the toughest business that literally known to man. And I have talked to many people and they're like, I don't know how you do it.
in an industry that has changed so much, so consistently. So yeah, let's kick off there. Who's Jeff? Where in New York are you at? Because I'm from Long Island originally.
Oh,
I'd
really?
love to
Where are you
hear.
from?
Plainview, Nassau County.
I'm from Massapequa Park.
Hey, there we go. Played a lot of soccer and football growing up in Massapequa.
There you go. Actually, that's funny. So here it is in the 92nd. I've done this, 36,000 times.
Yeah.
So in I was a Madison Avenue. I started as a Madison Avenue guy in advertising. I worked with all the major ad agencies. And believe it or not, I started when there was no videotape. That's how far back I go. It was only film. And I was a film editor, and that's how I really got started in the business. And then I worked in a production company with directors, and I saw how advertising was made, basically.
Yeah.
And then I started my own company, and we were a post-production company, and we started to look at how direct response advertising actually started to work, and how effective it was. And at that point in 1985, I met a guy who was the creative director of a major ad agency. Said, I am going to start I'm quitting my job. I'm like, what? There goes my client. I'm going to start making 30-minute commercials. I was like, what? He said, yeah, cable was deregulated, and we can buy time on cable for $150 for 30 minutes. I go, wow. I said, what can you do? 30 minutes, we're doing 36 seconds and 60 seconds. What are we going to do in 30 minutes? He goes, everything you can't do in 30 seconds. That was the beginning of the infomercial. So I was credited with being one of the originators of this format. I did the first skincare infomercial ever in the history of infomercials. So women testifying on a couch of how their lives have been changed and how their walls came down and their husbands love them more. That's my fault. We did the first weight loss show ever. We predated all of the big guys pretty much in the industry, Guthrie Ranker on down, which is a $2 or $3 billion company. And I've done basically 2,000 infomercials and direct response campaigns since then, of every shape, size, price, and everything else. And just to give you a quick evolution and your audience the evolution of how direct to consumer has changed. When we first started, of course, all there was a phone. So you could only get there wasn't even an 800 number when I started. They were called Watts lines, believe it or not. Boy, am I dating myself. So 800 number. Then it was years until you actually, through a 60 cycle modem, that you could actually even dial into the internet, and you could barely stream a commercial, which people thought was like Columbus, flying off of the end of the earth. And that started. So then there was the web, and it's evolved, and we've evolved from literally just being producers of commercials and directing thousands and multi-camera and infotainment and edumercials and every permutation you can imagine, to product manufacturers, licensors. We have a network of distributors of every place and form, whether it's retail stores, home shopping, online sellers, international, global, you name it. And we are basically turnkey operators that put every resource that you possibly need to launch a product or service in the world together as a general contractor for the most part, are a consultant. And that's why people come to us.
Wow. I literally just got off the phone. I'm typing this down just before this conversation with a guy who does something similar in the IT space. And I think you two could be good partners and collaborators to help cross pollinate. But Jeff, that is really cool. I think the thing that stands out, right? 36 fucking years with the capital F. So what take us to the present day, right? What are you guys servicing now? How big are you and how many people are on the team?
This is a great question. And everybody's shocked when I say that. So ultimately, we service startup inventors. So people who've been on Shark Tank or Indiegogo or GoFundMe, we get those products, if we want them, if we think they can be successful, and there is a modicum of investment in it, we will take those products on and take a vested interest in those.
Cool.
Okay?
That's very cool.
So that's first. Our biggest client is $100 billion. So we have a show running now that's running all over the United States. I can't say who it is, but it is a $100 billion client, a Fortune 50 company. And they have trusted us for years, and we have brought their cost of acquisition of a lead or customer down to somewhere between 50 and 70% with the shows that we do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, it's I have 1 million of these. The quickest way to reach the most amount of people for the least amount of money is through direct response or direct consumer advertising.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So the next question is, we literally have resources in every way, shape, and form of anything that you could possibly need, whether it's digital media, linear media, fulfillment, manufacturing, telemarket service. Obviously, we're a creative production company and have shot all over this country, everywhere you can imagine. And we literally have a staff of 2.
Wow. So a lot of contractors probably are involved, right?
Dozens and dozens. So you see where I am. I work at a standing desk. I have for 8 or 10 years, another product that we did. And it's the greatest thing ever. I highly recommend it. All of my pain and suffering has been gone. And truthfully, you're burning more energy, you're more productive, and you walk right in and you're ready to go. So I stand here basically between 10 and 15 hours a day between playing guitar, working out, and taking a nap. And sometimes we eat. And this is what I do. And we work in all time zones. We have factories in China we're working with, in the United States, and clients all over the United States as well. So
beautiful. So here's the final question, right? Like, size of business, how much are you guys doing annually? And for people that are hearing this, it's one, you've been in business for so long that like you've survived all of the changes. So there's a lot of versatility and resourcefulness. 2, you're doing it. It sounds like you're one of the pioneers of the contracted model. I'm sure there's several hundreds of iterations to get to where it's 2 and then a lot of contractors. So that's super cool. Yeah. Like what's the size of business top line today?
Well, when we started, I had for 30 years, I owned a studio, in Times Square, which was a production and a post-production studio. I had one on 36th Street for 13 years there. And then our final studio was a loft down in Wall Street area, across from the Federal Reserve building, which was a super cool thing to do. And that business and a model, as you just said, needed to pivot. There's just no money to be made in that type of business. There's just, when you're in the era of the iPhone, when everybody's a producer, it's difficult to be a true producer. There are those select few that will always survive, but ultimately it's just not a business to be in. So that being said, we could, and this is for every entrepreneur out there, you will go through droughts of making zero for a month, 2 months, 3 months. It could be 4 months and nothing. But as I say in this business, is those periods of time when you do make money, pay for those 3 or those drought months times multiple, time periods. So, we have sold $1.5 billion in sales and in products and services for other companies, ourselves, and everything in between of revenue share things that we have done, over 2,000 campaigns and through multiple companies all over the world, whether they're in stores, on TV, running online now, through Amazon, you name it. So it varies from year to year. It has been, a very beneficial life in terms of the
Cool.
36 years. And there have been good and there have been bad, just like anybody else. And it's not for everybody. You really have to
No.
be able to row those rough
Yeah.
waves.
Very cool. So I love the background. I love the high level, especially kind of just acknowledging, there's drought, but then when the river floods over and turns into fertile lands, we fucking reap the harvest, right? And it takes care of the drought months. So for you, Jeff, my background, like I mentioned before the call or before the recording, is with Amazon. So I am obsessive with systems. Like that's my focus. So one of the things I'm super curious about, you've been able to be extremely versatile, resourceful, and just have this innate ability to continue to iterate to not only to stay alive but thrive. When on the back end, not focusing on acquisition and sales, but like in terms of maybe fulfillment, operations, management, culture, whatever you want to call it, or like strategy, what's been maybe the one or two most important systems that have allowed you to get here and sustain business for literally decades?
That's a terrific question. And it is the key to what I've been able to do and this company's been able to do over these years is being able to have a first trusted partner, people that it's no different than a sports team.
Yeah.
Great sports teams have chemistry, right? And it's great to be able to have new people. I'm constantly open for new suppliers and new things all the time, technology or whatever it is. And some are good and some are not good, right? But ultimately, you have your go-to guys. You have the cleanup hitters. You have the ones where you got, like in a band, they don't even have to look at each other when they play, right? They know
Yeah, they
exactly
know
where
what's
they're going
going
to
on.
go. So when we create these campaigns, we know the trusted partner that we need to contract, all right? And we we give them those parameters, those bullet points, the hot buttons, the bottom line, the schedule. And that's it. We literally walk away from that, except for when we know or they know that their time is up, their time is ready, right? So then we meet and we say, okay, where are we? This is where we are. Most of the time, they're asking us, tell us when you're ready to do this marker, and we communicate. And that happens here 20 times a day with 20 different people, all at the same time. It's the key of being able to juggle the balls, multitask, and have adults on your team that you do not have to babysit or go after, that they are ready or they're actually proactively asking you questions that you would probably have to ask them, which would delay the process.
Yeah.
You go as fast as the slowest guy on the team. And when you have guys that are constantly saying, we would like to go faster and we're capable of it, that's what makes you look good. And that's the
Yeah.
key. And it's the technology, of course, whether it's video or graphics technology, scheduling technology, obviously this type of technology, video, conferencing technology, working at home. Like luckily we had closed the studio about maybe 6 months prior to the pandemic, and we were like, thank God we're here, we're prepared,
We're ready for it.
up. So again, it's seeing the future. I'll give you just a quick example what everybody loves. So I was one of the first 5 non-linear computer editors in the world. Avid Technology had come out in 1990. Actually, I have my certificate up. I could actually show you it. But and people thought, like, people were editing on videotape and film, and that's fine, but it's linear, right? You can only do this one thing and then you have to change. So I saw this along with a group of others, and we were like, wow, nobody even had a computer at that time. Literally clicking and dragging was the first thing that people had to learn, let alone a computer. But when I saw that you could push a button and actually have a duplication of work that you were doing, and that would enable 10 people at the same time to do it, that was the key to my business. And that was the difference of being able to split yourself into 1,000 places, but yet always be on top of whatever it is that you were doing. And that's the key, right? Because if you always have the answers before the meeting, and there isn't that, like you said, you're like to economize and be efficient in terms of your time. When you have the answers before the questions, that eliminates an enormous amount of time wasted
Yeah.
and back and forth. So
I
that's
love that. So I heard two things. I'm going to read between the lines and I'm going to pull out a third thing. So first is your people are top tier. And so I work with just over 30 agencies. Over 60% of our founders are below the age of 26. So their biggest struggle is people, because who are they looking for in the marketplace? They're looking for people that are in a similar age span. And I mean, 2 months ago now, I don't know what the October numbers were, had more people quit their jobs in the history of the United States ever, right? So because of this decentralized marketplace, people are struggling to find good talent and retain them because, well, I could go work on the beach in like Cancun, sit on my ass and be a freelancer, and I'm good, right? So good people are now becoming hard to come by. So I think that's one, that's a great component. And then two, what I heard is also leverage. You've been able to figure out ways to constantly leverage your time and leverage other people's times to build best in class like fulfillment and operational systems. And then three, you're great at what you do and you're answering questions before they are asked. So customer success, as it's called today, or just being able to figure out ways to increase the lifetime value of your partnerships and build a lot of trust where you're answering all the questions, you're over communicating, you're sharing the insights, you're sharing the results, you're sharing everything. And those are the three, right? People, leverage, customer success.
And you know what that entitles you to? This is the greatest thing ever. And I think anybody who's ever, done anything like entrepreneurial or even through a business is if I call or I email, I get an answer.
Yeah.
Because they know
because we trust
that I'm not just, blowing smoke, and I have something that's worth their while and ultimately that something that is I'm inquiring about could bring them something valuable in terms of work or connection or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of give and take, but it takes years and years to get that kind of a reputation and that kind of a respect where when people see it, I'm going to get an answer quickly.
We know Jeff. Jeff's the man. He's been in this game for 36 years with a capital F. Fuck. So he gets it.
That's killing me. That's like I'm going to use that from now on. That's a terrific way to say it. I've been in this industry for 30 effing years with a capital F, and it's true. It's listen. It's a nightmare business. It's not what it used to be. But there's so much more opportunity. And truthfully, every day that I wake up, I'm constantly, engaged with the fact that there's a challenge, and that's what it's like. You always feel every single day when you do this, like you're just beginning.
Yeah. There's
like I'm not ending. I'm just beginning. Because I think I can do every one of these things better, bigger, and faster, and more efficiently, right? And that's the key. And again, having great people with you that literally just make you look good all the time, and never having to have an excuse or waiting for somebody to deliver something on your team just puts you, as you said, at a great advantage, and it's able to leverage that experience into, I always say this, you can only take a project, no matter what it is, to 50-50. You do every single thing right, on time, budget, whatever it might be, or efficiency creatively. And at that point, either a person is going to buy that product or service or they won't. But it won't be because of what you did. And that's what we go for every single time.
I call it 100-100. You got to give it 100%. And I think about that for everything, whether it's business or even relationships, right? So you got to go 100% all in. And I think, echoing the late great Kobe, like that's the mama mentality. Like you gotta give it 110% no matter what it is. And if you focus on, for me, we talked about data before we started clicking record. If you focus on the right data points and you leverage the data to focus on the inputs, what you can control, look back and continually iterate, measure, like systemize, reprocessize, like that's what I'm hearing is your winning formula. I completely agree.
You just hit on something really big, and I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
So the data, it never changed. Okay. We have been in the direct response business for all these years, and it's never changed. Whether it was a phone call and the things came in and they were coming in at certain time periods over certain channels. They told you who was watching, who was buying, who was not buying, how much they were buying, what was the average order at the end of the day? All of the data, that data never changed. It only changed the format in which it's being delivered. Okay. So it has always been the roadmap to success of anything, because you know exactly why
Yeah.
things are working and
Why
they're
it's
not.
working.
The key here is when the internet first came in, and the internet boom happened in the 90s and then crashed and boomed, we all knew it was going to happen in this industry, because everybody thought when they first went into commerce, e-commerce, whatever it was, that it would be cheaper, that they were cutting out all this expense. And they're like, no, they don't understand the formula, that there are still going to be customer service, fulfillment fees, shipping fees, logistical fees, returns, all sorts of just, product distribution and channel fees. And we knew that was going. I didn't invest a penny in that, in the internet at that period of time, for that exact reason.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of people unfortunately go down because of it, and a lot of businesses. But yet here we are, full circle, 360. We are data based. You follow. The numbers don't lie. They show you what the roadmap, that you follow the breadcrumbs. And yes, of course, you have to use your gut, but your gut can be confirmed or justified by
The
the
data.
numbers.
Yeah. So Jeff, I'm stoked that I got to connect with you today. You're like, while we're having this conversation, it's like, shit, I wish I went to this guy's like this guy was in my synagogue when I was a child. Like, that's the type of like person I wish I met like growing up. But for everyone that's listening, they think you're equally as cool as I do. Where can they go find you and potentially even partner or reach out?
Absolutely. Anybody with product, service, consulting, we work on any basis. Listen, I love the work, and I'm totally energized by it. And the other thing that's really important, and it's for you and anybody else, is if you don't think it's a fit for what you do, don't do it. If we don't think a product or service is qualified, then we tell them right off. Don't take offense. This is not personal. Be judged on our experience and whatever we have seen in the marketplace, or whatever it is. The model is flawed. It's already too full. You're competing against an 8,000-pound gorilla, which you will never climb that mountain. Whatever the reason, say it. So we're very open to hearing anybody and anything in terms of their help. And if they need just a piece of our help, we're contractors. So you can go to meltzermedia.com, MELTZER, like seltzer with an M. It's another one I've been doing since I'm like 6. That has our website, and it has some contact information.
Beautiful.
And we're in Midtown Manhattan. I've been here. I've been living here for 40 years, and
Cool.
yeah, I live. We live and work right here in the center of town. So it's the center of the universe, and the energy good. And yeah, whatever it is. Listen, I'd love to come back on. There's so much more we could cover.
Totally.
And I'm honored that you called me, to tell you the truth, because I love talking about it, as you can see.
Oh yeah, as my dad used to refer to the people in our community that could talk a lot and talk well. He could schmooze. So
that is something I have been accused of many, many, many times.
Yeah, me as well. Jeff, I'm really glad I got to meet you today. Thank you so much for coming on, and we will talk soon.
My pleasure, man. It was great to meet you as well, and thanks. Peace.